When You Are Old by W.B. Yeats. When you are old and grey and full of sleep, and nodding by the fire, take down this book, and slowly read and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love false or true? But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled, and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. This is a very famous poem by W.B. Yeats, and it's another Maud Gonne poem, a poem he wrote about the woman he loved, Maud Gonne, who he asked to marry him many times and was refused by many times. And here he seems to be saying to her that she will be sorry that she rejected him. Let's look at it stanza by stanza. There are only 3 quatrains in the poem, that's 12 lines, and the rhyme scheme is A, B, B, A, C, D, D, C. E, F, F, E. So it's basically A, B, B, A for 3 stanzas, but it's always the same, but the rhymes are not the same in the 3 stanzas. It's iambic, a very clear, kind of melancholic, contemplative, iambic meter. When you are old and grey and full of sleep and nodding by the fire, take down this book. Very, very iambic, the meter. It's this kind of sleepy meter, in fact. If we look at the first stanza, when you are old and grey and full of sleep, and nodding by the fire, take down this book. Which book? The book of Yeats's poems, presumably, with this poem in it, and slowly read and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. So he's telling her to take his book of poems. When she's old, she will take his book of poems down and read it and remember how beautiful she used to be. Dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. The next stanza. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love false or true? But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrow of your changing face. So everybody loved her because she was beautiful, and she could do whatever she wanted. She could hang about with any man because she was so beautiful. But there was one man who didn't just love her beauty, or he loved the soul in her, the pilgrim soul, the wandering soul in her, and loved the sorrows of her changing face. So all the other men just loved her beauty, but this one man, Yeats presumably, loved the soul in her. So it's certainly developing in a particular way. Let's read the last stanza. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled, and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. So she can remember how she rejected the one who loved her, how love fled. And there is a beautiful image to finish the poem, and love flees and paces upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face amid a crowd of stars, almost as if he's crying, perhaps. Hid his face amid a crowd of stars, more in sorrow than in anger. So Yeah, when she's old and grey, she will remember the poet who wrote about her and loved her for who she truly was, the real soul in her, and she will know at that time that all the other people just loved her for her beauty, but it was only this man who really, truly loved everything she was, and uh, loved her soul, not just her beauty. And she will feel regret, murmur a little sadly, how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead. So the one who loved her went away. He had to go away. He was rejected and hid his face amid a crowd of stars like the rejected one is crying. It's a beautiful image to end the poem. Paced upon the mountains overhead and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. It's a very famous poem and very beautiful. If I had to say there was anything about it that I don't like, then I would say there is an element of sentimentality here, which is perhaps just on the edge of becoming cloying. It's not too long after the Celtic Twilight period, and it's the poem, in terms of its structure and the way the lines flow, does not show the kind of complexity of Yeats's later poetry. The lines are all kind of end-stopped. There's a little meaning in every line, which finishes at the end of the line. The rhyme scheme is very clear, and the rhymes are very full, and the iambic meter is also very clear and contemplative and melancholic, and there is an element of you'll be sorry about the poem, kind of. Although it's beautiful, and he obviously loves the lady involved. There's an element of you'll be sorry for rejecting me, perhaps, about it. That's where the sentimentality comes in. As I say, it doesn't really show the later complexity of Yeats's more mature poetry with his run-on lines and irony, ambiguity. There's nothing ironic, ambiguous here at all. It's just straight from the heart, and that's also its strength as well. Of course, it's just a statement straight from the heart. So it's honest and shows us exactly how the writer was feeling, but perhaps the way he constructs the woman in this poem, seeing her as an old, regretful lady who is sorry she rejected him, is it's a little bit naughty in some ways. Not naughty, but it's a question of the whole situation being seen from the poet's eyes. He creates the way the woman will see him in the future, and perhaps that's not true. Perhaps it is true, but perhaps it's not true. Very likely not true, actually. But of course, its qualities are very, very obvious. It's just a beautiful, tranquil poem about love, which has some beautiful images, some beautiful rhymes, beautiful meter. The words are kind of have long vowel sounds, so that the actual reading of the poem is very slow and stately. When we read the stanzas, it's difficult to read them quickly because there are so many long vowel sounds in the words, so it's kind of got to be slow and sad. And yeah, I would say it's not my favourite W.B. Yeats poem, but it's a beautiful poem, and shows some of the techniques that Yeats would become famous for later in terms of the construction. So it's a simple lyric, and Yeats was great with simple lyrics, traditional forms, and it's certainly a stroke of genius to put in all these very slow vowel sounds in the words, to slow up the lines and give it greater depth and intensity. So yes, that's what I would say about this poem, and it's one that anyone who likes W.B. Yeats will know. I would personally advise anyone who really likes this poem to go on and read Yeats's later poems, and I'm sure they would be enjoyed. And also read the more complex poem about his love for this same lady, Maud Gonne, in No Second Troy.